The mayor of Puerto Rico's capital city is blasting the federal response to the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. Maria crippled the island when it made landfall 10 days ago. Most of Puerto Rico's 3.4 million residents are without power. Half are without running water. On Friday, San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz accused the Trump administration of inefficiency in delivering aid to the island.
This morning, the president hit back on Twitter, writing, "The mayor of San Juan, who was very complimentary only a few days ago, has now been told by the Democrats that you must be nasty to Trump." He continued, "Such poor leadership ability by the mayor of San Juan and others in Puerto Rico who are not able to get their workers to help. They want everything to be done for them when it should be a community effort. 10,000 federal workers now on island doing a fantastic job." The president heads to Puerto Rico on Tuesday. He's spending the weekend at his New Jersey golf club, as I mentioned. And as the Washington Post reports this morning, that's also where the president spent last weekend as well, just days after the damage from Hurricane Maria was becoming apparent.
Ed O'Keefe shares a byline on that story, examining the president's initial response, and he joins us from our Washington bureau. Ed, good morning.
Good to see you guys.
Ed, the Post writes that initially the White House seemed to be on top of things, but then 4 days after the storm made landfall, as you write, Trump and his top aides effectively went dark themselves. What happened exactly?
Well, let's remember that it was last weekend when the president on Friday went down to Alabama to do a campaign rally for Senator Luther Strange, who ended up losing a primary on Tuesday. And then he spent most of the weekend, at least via Twitter, concerned about North Korea and whether or not NFL players are taking a knee during the national anthem. Based on our reporting, it looks like the president was getting very little information about what was happening in Puerto Rico. There were not high-level conversations between him and officials on the island or representing the island. And it wasn't until Monday when the FEMA administrator and his Homeland Security advisor went down to the island to inspect things for themselves and then returned to Washington on Tuesday that the administration really seemed to kick into high gear and realize that much more needed to be done.
So Ed, was it really during that time that you're talking about over the weekend and into now Monday, Tuesday, before anyone realized how dire things were?
In Washington, to some extent, yes, but that was also partly because island officials were still trying to sort out how bad it was. Remember, they had been cut off from most of the island. They hadn't heard from local mayors. They hadn't been able to go out and survey the damage. But by Sunday, it was apparent that the situation was dire. I think what we've got here is a combination of an administration that was talking pretty closely and frequently with officials on the island, but who collectively here in Washington and San Juan weren't able to fully assess the situation for a few days. And then once it became apparent that there was a bigger problem on the island, it took the White House until Tuesday, really, to start kicking into high gear.
And almost from the beginning, the mayor of San Juan has literally been begging for help. We heard her again yesterday. We heard the president's response this morning. How effective do you think that's going to be?
Well, you know, frankly, I'm not surprised because you know that the president lashes out at people who criticize him. One point of clarification with her. She's a member of the popular Democratic Party. Puerto Rico does its political parties a little differently, mostly around the issue of status, whether or not Puerto Rico should be an independent country, a state, or continue in its current status. That party that she's a member of is loosely associated with the Democratic Party on the mainland, but she herself is not a full-blown Democrat. The criticism she's been expressing quite publicly from the Capitol is similar to what we've been hearing from small-town mayors across the island. There's frustration that the central government there, led by the governor, isn't necessarily being responsive. When I talked to him yesterday, I asked him about this. I said, we're hearing from a lot of the mayors who are frustrated about this. He says, look, I understand. It's their job to be worried about their constituents. We're doing what we can to get supplies into their hands to make sure that the situation in their towns is being addressed. And he said in the coming days, as he kept saying, boots on the ground arrive to provide assistance, the situation should improve dramatically. We'll see.
We will. Ed O'Keefe in our Washington bureau this morning. Ed, thank you.